Part 3. Must have academic word for IELTS exam. Infrastructure: the basic systems that a country or organization needs in order to work properly. Example: there is also a need for serious spending on infrastructure and services. Restrain. Definition: prevent someone from doing something. Example: a court could restrain a doctor from continuing such treatment. Detected. Definition: noticed something that was not easy to see. Example: if 3 patterns are all superimposed, then no pattern will be detected. Community: a small area or town and the people who live in it. Example: a procedure was used for tracing the organism responsible for the spread of an infection in a community. Induced. Caused a particular physical condition. Example: competition from other food exporting nations have induced farmers to seek alternative methods of production. Ministry. Definition: government department. Example: as advisor to the ministry, Harrison was invited to take charge of a clinic at St. Thomas Hospital in London. Identical. Definition: government department. Example: as advisor to the ministry, Harrison was invited to take charge of a clinic at St. Thomas Hospital in London. Intermediate. Definition: between 2 stages. Example: intermediate goods or producer goods are goods used as inputs in the production of other goods. Coordination. Definition: when people and things are organized so they work together effectively. Example: direct supervision achieves coordination by having one person take responsibility for the work of others. Simulate. Definition: something you do in order to practice what you would do in a real situation. Example: people are increasingly coming to think that we want an answer which can be simulated on a computer. Guidelines. Definition: official advice about the way to do something. Example: at present, only general guidelines to management can be provided. Aware. Definition: knowing about or realizing something. Example: he was acutely aware of the power of the airlines. Ethnic, relating to a particular race of people. Example: it has given more than 18 million hectares of the Amazon over to the Indians belonging to some 50 ethnic groups. Recover. Definition: get better after an illness, injury, shock, etc. Example: after months in hospital he recovered and was recommended for leave in England. Derived. Definition: have something as its origin. Example: these organic compounds, ultimately derived from food, are the necessary source of energy for animals. Conflict. A situation in which you have to choose between opposing things. Example: various aspects of the party's life, resources, and activities will be helpful to them in th. Revenue. Definition: money that is earned by a company or money that the government receives from tax. Example: they need to export even more just to keep revenue stable. Maintain. Definition: make something continue in the same way or at the same standard as before. Example: the majority class does not need the unemployed to maintain and even increase its standard of living. Acquire. Definition: get something. Example: he acquired a lasting scientific interest in mucus. Export. Definition: the business of selling products to another country. Example: these countries all try to export the same limited range of raw materials. Brief. Definition: continuing for only a short time. Example: I will return briefly to these considerations in the next chapter. Virtual. Definition: almost completely. Example: it will be noticed that the elements of causing death by reckless driving are virtually the same as those of reckless manslaughter. Appendix. Definition: a part at the end of a book or report that has additional information. Example: a summary of those sections was provided in an appendix to that chapter. Assembly. Definition: a group of people who have come together for a particular purpose. Example: the Council of Nicaea was the largest assembly of bishops hitherto. Notwithstanding. Definition: in spite of something. Example: notwithstanding the risk of the treatment, the discovery of salvarsan was greeted throughout the world with enthusiasm. Authority. Definition: someone who is respected because of their knowledge. Example: these groups and societies must get the authority of the state. Empirical. Definition: based on scientific method or practical example. Ultimate. Definition: the final and most important thing. Example: the ultimate goal must be to forge an economic partnership based on equitable trade. Ultimate. Definition: based on scientific method or practical example. Example: Bacon enthusiastically advocates and describes certain empirical procedures by which knowledge should be sought. Relevant. Definition: directly related to the problem or subject being discussed. Example: the first of these points is not relevant here, as will be shown later. Transport. Definition: when people, goods, etc. are moved from one place to another. Example: its transport needs would be met by American aircraft. Outcome. Definition: the final results of a meeting, process, etc. Example: Wilde complains of the sordid interpretations of his conduct which had influenced the outcome of his trial. Automate. Definition: without much human control. Example: as you eat better and become slimmer you will automatically find activity more enjoyable. Intelligent. Definition: good at learning and understanding things. Example: he believed that good modern literature should be accessible to the ordinary intelligent reader. Thesis. Definition: a long piece of writing that you do for a university degree. Example: a dissertation or thesis is a document submitted in support of candidature for a degree presenting the author's research and findings. Consequences. Definition: things that happen as a result of something else. Example: the penalty for child neglect is 10 years imprisonment, which is sufficient to deal with ca. Mental, relating to the mind, or happening in the mind. Example: this provides an opportunity for observing and talking to the patient, and thereby learning more about his pro. Incentive. Definition: something that encourages you to work harder, or to start something new. Example: the incentive to develop the mechanical clock may well have come from the. Abstract. Definition: based on ideas. Example: nationalism is conceived by most members in an abstract way. Labor. Definition: work, especially hard physical work. Example: the more elaborate the home, the more labor is required to keep it fit. Ratio. Definition: a relationship between two amounts, written as two numbers. Example: complications are less common in men than in women in a ratio of about 1 to 4. Technical definition, relating to practical skills, knowledge and methods used in science or industry. Example, any technical term used here is explained in the body of the text.